Hey, this is Sarge here at C4 Defense. Today we're going to check out my brand new Gen 5 Glock 20 MOS. I went ahead and threw a Trijicon RMR on it and my trusty Streamlight TLR1HL. I was lucky enough to get to check one of these out at SHOT Show, and you can see my other videos right there. But let's go ahead. I found this one this weekend, so let's put some on steel and see how it runs. Oh, did I hit the head? There we go. Let's see if we can get that little one. Uh-oh. There. I might need to adjust that just a little bit. There you go, the Gen 5 Glock 20 MOS. Let's go over to the bench, we'll look at the specs on it, take a little bit closer look, and then we'll get back over here and shoot some more steel. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at the Gen 5 Glock 20 MOS. Like I said before, and you've seen in some other videos, I was fortunate enough to shoot this out in Vegas, and I didn't even know it was coming out, truthfully. So it was a pleasant surprise. But there's not a lot as far as physical, as far as the specifications go. There's not a lot of differences between this and the Gen 4. It's like 5.5 inches tall, and of course plus the RMR. Overall length is a little over 8 inches. It's got a 4.6 inch barrel. One of the differences is it has these very nice slide serrations at the front and the rear, but the Gen 4s and previous gens didn't have those. And then of course the front is contoured with that nice Gen 5 look, so it's not as blocky as the previous ones. And got the big mag release. Sorry about the blue paint from where I was painting these targets. And of course it has a light rail, and I've got my trusty Streamlight TLR1HL on it. It accepts the back straps if you need to make it bigger. One of the things I really do like is the lack of finger grooves. When you pick up a 3 or 4, you think, oh, these finger grooves aren't that bad, until you go back to a 5 where they're not there and you realize I like this better, especially on something with this big of a grip. The 20s and 21s, it really makes a difference. And like I said, I've got pretty large hands, but it is much more comfortable with this without the finger grooves than with the Gen 4 with. It has the A and B slide stop. Of course, it has these wonderful stock Glock sights, which those are going to go. I've already got some on order. Flared mag well, or somewhat flared. It's one of the Gen 5 features. And the trigger lists it being just ever so slightly lower trigger pull weight than the Gen 4s, so it does have a pretty good trigger, that's for sure. And like I said, I threw the RMR on top of it, the 6 MOA, or 6.5. But let's go ahead and look at something I noticed internally. Make sure everything's good. And I was swapping out some of my parts and seeing what would fit from the Gen 4 to Gen 5, and the guide rod. This guide rod is longer than the Gen 4 because my previous one had that real nice stainless one in it, and it was a good 1/8 of an inch short. So obviously it wouldn't work. Didn't try it, but it just went in there and it just rattled. It was not nearly long enough to fit. Everything else looks very similar, and like I said, it's got that really nice tapering on the front, so it looks really good. It's going to look great with some night sights on it. And as far as the internals, what it is, this one is a 2-pin design like all the other Gen 5s, and everything else looks just like any other Gen 5 except for beefier. So I've got to order some a couple parts, like some pins and things to dress this one up. But let's go ahead and make sure I hit the rails, try it out, function test. Okay, well, there you go. Gen 5 Glock 20 MOS with the Trijicon and the Streamlight. Let's go ahead, put some on steel. The Gen 5 really is nice. This is everything that I wanted to do to my Gen 4, but it's ready to go right out of the box. So The one thing that is odd is it only comes with one plate. So if you've got an RMR, which I do, you'll be fine. But if you're going to run like say a Delta Point Pro or something else on a different footprint, I think the Vortex Venom, if you're going to run something different, you're going to have to buy a plate for it. So I don't know whether, I think Glock sells some plates, and then of course some other companies do as well. But this one was for the one that I had, which is lucky. Instead of having the multi-plate system, this only has one. So that being said, let's put some on steel, see how it runs. So I think I need to adjust my RMR just a little bit. I think, let me see where I'm shooting. Yeah, I'm shooting just a hair high. But I just threw this on there not too long ago. Yeah, we're good. But as you can tell, that 10 millimeter, it packs a punch. Yeah, it's a spot on, but then again, I'm letting this gun just a little bit too much. But as far as the Gen 4, this one just, I like the trigger a little bit more, and I really like the lack of finger grooves. So like I said before, when you get a Gen 3 or 4, you're like, oh, those finger grooves aren't that bad, until you go back to the one where they're not there, and it's so much better. And as far as magazines, this thing is 15+1. Don't know if I mentioned that. This one might be slightly more. So you can carry it in this configuration, and it's still not too bad if you got a holster, which I got to get a new one for this one. But let's put some more on it. I'm going to try to do a little bit more precision, and then we'll put some more as far as just dumping them on it, like say if you had to, because this gun right here, as far as 10 millimeter, it will take care of anything that you run into, unless you get like up in the great Northwest. You can run into some big mammals that this might not be optimal. But as far as protection out in the woods around here, East Coast, out west, until you get like up into like grizzly territory, this is good for hogs. This is good. You can take a deer with it, bear, anything that you need to deal with, you could deal with until you get into the really big stuff, and then you probably want something just a little bit larger. So let's go ahead and see if we can shoot a little bit more precision, and then we'll dump some on that target. So let's go for the top one. Oh man, I flinched a little bit. Yeah, I'm flinching. This is me. There we go. It really wrecks that 3-inch one, doesn't it? Yeah. That's a little bit too big a piece of steel for a pistol. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna put 10 more shots in another mag, and we're gonna dump it on that static target. I put 10 more in it. I'll just have to hold it at a low ready because I don't have my holster set up for this one just yet. And like I said, this is a go-to-war gun. I'm not afraid of anything when you got this, but it's not exactly like a rifle or a shotgun, but it's pretty dang close. So I'm gonna see how quickly I can get these 10 shots onto the static target, and we'll see if I can keep them on there. Hopefully this RMR is aimed just good enough to let me do that. So there we go. Well, I moved them around a little bit, but that was me. This gun is so good. I'll have to do a comparison between it and my M&P 2.0, but way better than the Gen 4. Probably better than the Gen 3. I didn't have one of those. Slightly lighter, slightly better trigger pull. Definitely gets a big thumbs up for having the RMR cut, and of course the light fits on it, and lack of finger grooves. This one definitely gets an A+ in my book. So see you on the range.